and we derived the Euler equation. Then we looked at the alternate form of the Euler equation. So if you look at the Euler equation, alternate form, it's given by something like your work done per second or whatever it may, W is equal to V2 minus V2 square minus V1 square by 2 and U2 square minus U1 square by 2 plus VR1 square minus VR2 square by 2. So this may be for a pump or a compressor. So this may be for a pump or a compressor because this is a power absorbing device. So what will happen if it is for a something like a turbine, power producing machine? So we do have a velocity, inlet velocity being one being higher than the velocity at the exit. I can write it as V1 square minus V2 square by 2 plus U1 square minus U2 square by 2 plus your relative velocity VR2 square minus VR1 square by 2. So that's how it is. The equation will change in that fashion. Now the first component is the change in kinetic energy due to absolute velocity. The second component is change in your centrifugal. So there is something which is changing due to your centrifugal effects. And the third component is that will be changing due to the relative velocity. Both the components to the right hand side, the u2 square minus u1 square by 2 plus vr1 square minus vr2 square by 2, both will lead to a change in a static head. It can be a pressure head or whatever it is. So anyhow, this part of this discussion, turbo machinery, whatever the syllabus you don't have, we are not going to discuss in detail about that. What I have done is I have written some information, extra information, so that why these two components are static. So what I have taken is I have taken the particular component of the flow between two blades and try to show that those components of energy, that is your kinetic energy component and your relative velocity energy component, is given by, it leads to what is called as your static pressure, right? That a small derivation I have done. This is for your extra reading. At the same time, your u2 square minus u1 square, that also will lead to, suppose if there is a relative velocity is not there. So if there is only a movement of the fluid in the centrifugal fashion, will that separately is equal to pressure rate? So some extra information I have written somewhere here. You can just go through that. And the reason for that is maybe in turbine, I told that U1 is greater than U2, and for the pump it is U2 minus U1. So there is an extra reading, you can read it. Now, we have done this derivation, that is your axial flow, which is maybe for a radial flow machine. That is V2 square minus V1 square by 2 plus U2 square minus U1 square by 2 plus, so this is what we have. Now, when you come to axial flow machine, so when you come to axial flow machine, what will happen actually? In an axial flow machine, your U1 is equal to your U2, which will be equal to something like a U, which is calculated because what the reason is actually I don't have any tip diameter, I don't have any hub diameter. What I'll be having is a mean diameter. Okay, and your U is calculated based on your mean diameter. So this is the reason. So your U is equal to pi d n by 60. So in this condition, what will happen to your blade velocity, whatever the equation what we have. So we have, this is what your blade work done what we have, which is equal to your V2 square minus V1 square by 2, fine, plus VR1 square minus VR2 square by 2. So it gets because U2 square minus U1 square by 2, automatically they get cancelled. Okay, this automatically they become cancelled because U2 is equal to U1. Okay, now what is the first quantity? First quantity is they can change it to Z, is mainly due to change in kinetic energy, and the second quantity will lead to the change in your relative velocity. Okay, so if it's for an axial flow machine, it's how you have to write it. So this is an alternate form of equation. This is change in due to kinetic energy. This is change due to your what we call it as your virtual or your relative. We call it as the relative energy. Change in due to your relative velocity, and this will lead to your static pressure rise. This will lead to the static pressure rise. So this is what happens in case of your turbo machine Euler equation, which is in terms of your whirl velocity or an alternate form. So let us write, if you try to write the equation, what it will be. So if I try write for a turbine, it will be VW1 into U1. So let's write it, the Euler equation in detail. So Euler equation for a turbine. Okay, if I write it, I can write it as your W is equal to VW1 into U1 minus VW2 into U2. Okay, so this is the equation what I have. Okay, this is actually the energy per or work done per unit mass. The same thing for unit weight, it will be VW1 into U1 minus VW2 into U2 divided by G. This is energy per unit weight. So what will happen to your, in case an alternate form, I can write it as, this will be V1 square minus V2 square by 2 plus U1 square minus U2 square by 2 plus VR2 square minus VR1 square by VR2 square minus VR1 square by 2. So this is an alternate form of your Euler equation. The same thing for an axial flow turbine. What it will be? In that case, U1 and U2 both are same. I can write it as V1 square minus V2 square by 2 plus VR2 square minus VR1 square by 2. This is for an axial flow turbine. Okay. Now this is for a turbine. What about for a compressor? So for energy equation, Euler equation for a compressor or a pump, what it will be? I can write it as what I have written, W is equal to VW2 into U2 minus VW1 into U1, that is per unit mass, or I can write W is equal to VW2 into U2 minus VW1 into U1 by G, that is per unit weight, or I can write W is equal to V2 square minus V1 square by 2 plus U2 square minus U1 square by 2 plus VR1 square minus VR1 2 square by 2, that is for an alternate form. So here also, if I have an axial flow compressor or something, so in that case I can write it as, it will be V2 square minus V1 square by 2 plus VR1 square minus VR square by 2. This is for an axial flow compressor or a pump. So I can write all these equations. Alternate form, either is already see, this alternate form is for radial machines. Okay, here also this is for radial machines. And if it's for an axial flow machine, your U1 and U2 is equal to 0. So in that case, I can write it. So now, once you know about this particular thing, already we know that what are the components of energy. Based upon that, there are two things which you have to discuss. One being the degree of reaction and the other one being the utilization factor. Now, what is this degree of reaction? Before I define the degree of reaction, let us try to write what are the different components we have in energy transfer. Components of energy transfer. Energy transfer. Let me write that. So what we have first actually, say for example, I have maybe potential component that is based on the position or elevation component or potential head or whatever it's call it as the potential head or this may be because of the elevation. So usually this may be, I call it as either Z2 minus Z1 or Z1 minus Z2, depending upon from either from a turbine or it's a compressor, 1 to 2 or 2 to whatever it may be. Then I do have the flow component or the pressure component. The pressure or the flow component. And it's given by your P2 minus P1 by rho. Okay. Then the third one is I do have the enthalpy component, which I have. So change in enthalpy. The enthalpy component, which is called as delta H. I can write either H2 minus H1 or H1 minus H2, depending upon how I'm using it, just a turbine or a compressor. Other than this, we have the other three components which are very important, which is very much important in your velocity triangles. So the first one being the absolute velocity component. The absolute velocity component. So I can write it as either V1 square minus V2 square by 2 if it's for a turbine, or V2 square minus V1 square by 2 if it's for a compressor or a pump. Then I do have the centrifugal component. Centrifugal velocity component. So I can write it as U2 square minus U1 square by 2 for a compressor or a pump, or U1 square minus U2 square by 2 for a turbine. And the last component is your relative component. Relative component of relative velocity component. Relative velocity component. I can write it as VR1 square minus VR2 square by 2. So now, based on this energy component, whatever we have, I can define. See, these three components very much important for me. You know, these components is also important. So you have the first set of potential, your pressure component, or your flow component, or enthalpy component. We are discussing. And from your velocity perspective, we are trying to discuss the absolute velocity, the centrifugal velocity, and the relative velocity. So based on this last three components, absolute velocity, centrifugal component, relative component, I can define the impulse compressor or a pump. That is impulse. Okay. So if I want to call anything as an impulse machine, or impulse turbo machine, or impulse machine, what happens in case of impulse machine? So now if you closely look at it, see this, already we have seen the centrifugal component and relative component, both are static. Both will lead to what is called as static head. Okay. Then if you look at your kinetic energy, this is your the kinetic head or kinetic energy. Okay. Now what will happen in case of an impulse machine? In an impulse machine, there is no change in static pressure or static head across the impeller. That means what is it actually? Across the rotor or an impeller. So across the rotor, or what is the rotor or the impeller? It is where the energy is getting transferred. That is, it's the rotating member of your turbo machine. Okay, what it has actually? It has a set of blades, and within this blade, the fluid is flowing. Okay, so across the rotor or the impeller, there is no change. There is no change in your static pressure or static head. There is no change in the static pressure or static head, but only there is, but only there is change in kinetic energy. There is only change in kinetic energy. Okay, that is delta Ke. What we mean by it actually, there is only the absolute velocity component. Because of the change in the absolute velocity component, I could see and changes in my, or there will be increase in the momentum or there is a decrease in the momentum. Whatever that's happening, that is mainly because of your kinetic component, and I don't have any impact of your static component. So that is the meaning of your impulse machine. So what will happen if it's a reaction machine? So in case of a reaction machine, there is change in both. See, there is a impact of static component also. There is a change in my static pressure component. See, across the impeller if I take. But what is it actually? Across the impeller or rotor, there is a change in the static pressure. There is a change in static pressure or head. Okay, across the impeller there is a change in static pressure and head. But what will happen to your kinetic energy? There is also, see, I do have both. See, I do have, there is change in static pressure. Also, there is change in the kinetic energy also. That means in a impulse turbine, it is only mainly because of the kinetic energy. That means only change in your absolute velocities. But what happens in case of a reaction machine? There is static as well as your kinetic. So both combined together. What do you mean actually? If you try to write it actually, both G and the will lead to this kind of a machine. Okay, let's take a look at the example. What exactly is actually? See, if I try to take an example, let's take you will be having this exam, maybe a experiment in your lab actually. So we have what is called a flat plate or a inclined plate or a curved plate. Take a curved, right? So this is my a curved plate. Okay. Now, what will happen in case of this particular thing? If it is a purely impulse, what will happen? So your force, see, your kinetic energy, it simply strikes this blade. But what will happen to see? There is a pressure. See, here also I will be having a pressure. Here also I will be having a pressure, which both nullifies. That means the static pressure automatically it nullifies. So only what I could see because of the, see, this is the fluid. The fluid will strike the blade and it pushes. So it pushes your blade in the forward direction. So force change is due to direction of the flow of fluid. So this is the fluid flow. What will happen? This is mainly because of velocity. The fluid enters at some velocity v1. It is going to strike the blade, okay, and it pushes. Then it comes out with some velocity v2. So the main momentum to the blade is given mainly because of the kinetic energy. I am not seeing any pressure energy. So second example, maybe for reaction, so most of these sprinklers which are there on in your maybe lawns you might have seen. What will happen in a sprinkler actually? So in a sprinkler, the fluid, see, you have a fluid which is coming, okay? You have a fluid which is coming And this fluid, what does this fluid does? See, fluid will be coming out actually, and the fluid, so fluid is coming out at the same time. Say for example, you might have seen the fluid. This is what I can write, a simple sprinkler, something like this. You might have seen that there is a flaps like this, 1 or 2 flaps will be there. The fluid will be coming out. The fluid will be coming out with some kinetic energy. So let us call the delta Ke. Okay, fluid will be coming out. But once it comes out, there is a change in the pressures. There is a slight, see, the flaps will be acting like this. The flaps will be rotating. And because of the flap rotating, there is a slight change in your pressures. Okay, so because of this, so there is a partly pressure energy, delta pressure energy. There is a kinetic energy. I could see that this is called as a reaction machine. Or I can see that we do have maybe your Francis turbine. Okay, what is there in our lab? So there, what will happen? Fluid directly doesn't strike it actually. What will happen in case of it actually? So if this is my a turbine, this is my turbine. Okay. So if I have a turbine something like this, okay, this is the blade. The fluid enters like this. See, the fluid directly doesn't strike the blades actually. So there is a little quantity of the fluid. It comes and it fills here. Okay, it fills here. So that's how, see, in most of the reaction turbines, we should ensure that the whole turbine is completely filled at least, or at least 60 to 70% is completely filled, or it should be partially filled. But that's not a case of an impulse machine. It may not get filled actually. But fluid will just get filled up between your blades. See, wherever you have the blades, no, in the blades, the fluid gets filled up. So once it's filled up, maybe every other thing, the fluid will just gets filled up. So every other, yeah, this is how it is. So once the fluid fills actually, what will happen? So it has a certain amount of kinetic energy. So the fluid gets filled up means I do have a little bit of pressure. Okay, I do have some little bit of pressure. Then there is a little bit of kinetic energy is there. So because of that, what will happen? Say for this is my blade. It will try to push. It will try to push. It will try to push, and it will try to flow. So overall, the turbine starts rotating. That means there is a little bit of pressure energy change in pressure because of the filling of the fluid between the blades or vanes, and at the same time it has some momentum in it in the form of kinetic energy, and because of that it gives a thrust to the blades to rotate. So there is a little bit of momentum given due to pressure energy change, and there is a momentum given because of the kinetic energy change. So this is called as a reaction machine. Reaction machine. Okay, once you understand this impulse and reaction machine, we have something called as, we have to define degree of reaction. Degree of reaction, and it's indicated by R. What it is actually? See, it's a ratio of, see, it is something like a ratio of the energy transfer due to static component to total component. It's something like I have, see, when I call total component, it has both static as well as your dynamic. So what is the energy because of the static to total? If I try to take the ratio of it, I get what is called as your degree of reaction. Okay. So degree of reaction, R, is nothing but it's the ratio of your static energy or static head to total head, to total energy or total head. So when I speak of total energy or head, it has static energy plus your dynamic energy. Or total head is equal to static head plus dynamic head, whatever it may be, if I want to write in terms of this particular. Now, if I take some of the machines, if I try to write in terms of enthalpies, then your static enthalpy to total enthalpy will become degree of reaction. So that is the case of a steam turbine. So in case of steam turbines, their velocities are not that important. In case of steam turbines, so degree of reaction is mainly because of your static enthalpy to total enthalpy. What it is actually? It is delta H to delta H naught. Total enthalpy. So static enthalpy change to total enthalpy change. So total enthalpy change, what it is actually? It is H naught includes both static as well as dynamic component actually. H plus V square by 2. Whatever that particular component I have, that particular component is there. So what about for the other type of emission? If we take for example, a radial flow, hydraulic turbine or compressor, whatever you want, if I try to define for that actually, for the other radial flow machines. How I define R? So R is equal to a static energy. Once again, what is your static energy? If I go back and look into your alternate form of equation, so for a turbine I can write it as U1 square minus U2 square by 2 plus VR2 square minus VR1 square. So this is mainly a static component, okay, divided by the total component. What is your total component? It is V1 square minus V2 square by 2 plus U1 square minus U2 square by 2 plus VR2 square minus VR2 square by VR2 square minus VR1 square by 2. Okay. So what is this actually? If you look at it, this is your static component and this is your dynamic component. So then a total will give you your total energy component. This is how I can write it. Is it any other form I can write it? So this is for a turbine. So this is for a turbine. If I try to write the same thing for a compressor, I can write it as U2 square minus U1 square by 2 plus VR1 square minus VR2 square by 2 whole thing divided by V2 square minus VR square by 2 plus U2 square minus U1 square by 2 plus VR1 square minus VR2 square by 2. This is for a compressor or a pump. So here also if you look at it, I do have the static component and I do have the dynamic component. Okay. Now if you look at it, both this kind of machines, whatever it may be, whether it's an radial flow machines, whatever it may be, if you look at it, I can write in this particular form. Now what I have written is at the bottom, I have written the alternate form of in terms of your velocity, absolute velocity or relative velocity, what I have written. Is it possible for me to write the Euler equation to calculate the degree of reaction? Yes, I can do that. So if I want to do that, I can simply write for a turbine something like this. So what it will be? It will be for say R is equal to, I do have U1 square minus U2 square by 2 plus VR2 square minus VR1 square by 2 simply divided by VW1 into U1 minus VW2 into 2. This is for a turbine. I can easily find the degree of reaction. For a compressor, I can write it as R is equal to U2 square minus U1 square by 2 plus VR1 square minus VR2 square by 2 whole thing divided by VW2 into U2 minus VW1 into U1. This is for a compressor or a pump. So I can write the degree of reaction for a given machine, whatever maybe, whether it's a compressor or a pump, whatever. Once you write this, I can see based on the value. See, I have a numerical, something like find the degree of the reaction and all. So based on what is given, some numericals, if it is there given the VW1, I can do this particular thing, and where V2, V1, U or VR1, you have to calculate a velocity triangle, I can calculate degree of reaction. So once you know this, what is the value of the degree of reaction? See, the value of degree of reaction is, I can see, if you closely look at it, I can't see. If it is something like your total component is I do have a dynamic component, which is in terms of V velocities, and I have the static component, which are in terms of U and VR. Now, if you try to look at it actually, what is the maximum value of degree of reaction? Okay, the maximum value of degree of reaction can be 1. So what do you mean by it actually? So if I tell, say for example, degree of reaction is a number between 0 and 1. What is it actually? If I tell it is a 0, that means no static enthalpy or static head or energy. Let me call it as energy. So there is no static energy. That means my numerator is completely 0. Fine. Then when it is 1, okay, no kinetic energy. So what is it actually? In this, no static energy means my U2 square minus U1 square by 2 plus VR1 square minus VR2 square by 2, this 0. Okay. No kinetic energy means my V1 square, sorry, V2 square. Just writing for compressor, I can write the same thing for your turbine. V2 square minus V1 square by 2. So this is my kinetic energy component is 0. If I try to look into this particular equation, so when R is equal to 0, the numerator is 0. So when my R is equal to 1, that means your kinetic energy component is 0. It's very difficult to have a complete R is equal to 1. That means if I see, I need a amount of energy to have the movement. See, the movement is given mainly because of the kinetic energy. That means it's very difficult to have R is equal to 1 machine. So there is only static energy. That means a pure degree of reaction, that is R is equal to 1, is ruled out. They should be, see, this is almost, it is impractical having R is equal to 1. I can have R is equal to 0.8. That means I do have 20% of kinetic energy. See, pure impulse machine are there. So best example is your Pelton wheel or something. So tangential flow is pure impulse machine. So I can have R is equal to 0. So if you look at the cases, what is it? I have end up with R is equal to 0. It is impulse machine. That is, I can have only kinetic energy and make the machine to work. So best examples I can give. You have the Pelton wheel or Pelton turbine, and you have the impulse steam turbines. So D-level turbine or whatever it may be, D-level steam turbine, which are impulse in nature. So that means what will happen here? There exists only the kinetic energy, and I don't have any kind of your reaction or static pressure right there. So pure reaction machine. So pure reaction machine, we have long sprinkler, I told you. So that is R is equal to 1. It is a pure reaction machine. This is a pure reaction machine. The best example is your lawn sprinkler. But it is not a turbo machine. It is not a turbo machine. See, I do have devices with R is equal to 1, but those can't be called as a turbo machine. But if the number is less than 1, so what is a practical turbo machine? A practical turbo machine will have R less than 1. So that is your reaction turbo machines. So I can have a reaction as 0.7, 0.8, all those things. So if R is equal to 0.5, if R is equal to 0.5, there is 50% degree of reaction. So 0.5, 0.6, so these are the reasonable numbers where I can call those as reaction turbo. This is about your degree of reaction. So we do have one more point which clearly defines the energy utilization. So we call that utilization factor or diagram factor. Okay. We do have one more factor that is called as utilization factor or diagram factor, and it is given by epsilon. So now what it is actually? See, I do have a turbo machine, something like this. Let me write it. So this is my machine, rotor, hub and tip, and I do have the blades like this. Let me write. So I have some, I'm writing some four blades. Now what will happen? Let's say for a turbine. So what will happen? The fluid will enter somewhere like this and the fluid will go out. So it enters at some velocity V1, it goes out with velocity V2. Now, what is the ideal condition? The ideal condition is the fluid enters at V1, it should be completely converted so that V2 should be 0. This is the ideal condition. I don't want what will happen? My complete kinetic energy or whatever the energy which is coming in should be utilized and it should go out. So that is the complete conversion of your energy. So what is in practical cases, what will happen? This is not a 0. V2 can't be 0. It's if V1 enters at some 40 meters per second, V2 will be at 2 meters per second. Well, speaking should be 0. What is that V2 which is going out, V2 square by 2? That is the energy which is not converted or which is not utilized, or it is wasted. Okay. But some kind of how much energy is utilized so it is epsilon, it is nothing but energy converted or utilized to energy that is available. Energy available, that is ideal. So if I write it, it is something like energy E suffix U to E suffix A. See, what is the energy utilized? Actually, it is your Euler equation. So it is the Euler equation. What is energy available? Actually, your V2 square should is equal to 0. So that is your actual. So if I try to write it, this is an actual one. So if I try to utilize that, this is an actual. So if I try to write it, actually, this is your energy and this is ideal energy. If I try to write it based on your Euler's equation, what I have, okay. So Euler equation, I can write it as epsilon is equal to, I can write it as, if I write it for a turbine, I can write the similar equation for compressor also. So V1 square minus V2 square by 2 plus U1 square minus U2 square by 2 plus VR2 square minus VR1 square by 2. This is your actual energy divided by, okay, it is V1 square by 2. I don't have V2 square because V2 square is 0 here. Okay, plus U1 square minus U2 square by 2 plus VR2 square by VR1 square by 2. So write it in this, V2 is 0 in ideal condition. Okay. Now what I can do actually, now I can do, see, I can simplify this equation. I can simplify the equation and write in whatever the form I want. So if I want, this is the expression, this is a simple expression. I can simplify and write this expression. So what I can do, this I can write. So in the numerator, I will add V2 square and I will subtract 2 square so that I can do some modification. Okay. So V1 square minus V2 square by 2 plus U1 square minus U2 square by 2 plus VR2 square minus VR1 square by 2. So in the denominator, I will add V2 square by 2 and subtract V2 square by 2 so that I will get V1 square minus V2 square by 2 plus U1 square minus V2 square by 2 plus VR2 square minus VR1 square by 2 plus your V2 square by 2. So if you try to look at it, this one in the numerator and this one in the denominator are same. Okay, that means both are Euler equation. So that I can write something like this. This is VW1 into U1 minus VW2 into U2 divided by VW1 into U1 minus VW2 into U2 plus V2 square by 2. So this is what is actually, this is your Euler energy equation. And at the bottom what I have actually, this is Euler equation plus loss. So what is this actually? This is your loss, that is the energy which is, you can call it as a loss or energy not utilized, which I am unable to convert. So what is it actually? If you closely observe this, if for a turbine, so if I try to look at what should be the value of it, see, if I try to look at this epsilon value, this epsilon value should be number somewhere between 0 and 1. Okay. Now suppose this number is 1. What is the meaning of it? The meaning is losses are less. So if I try to closely observe this, if I try to observe this equation and this equation, both the equations if you closely observe, if my epsilon is nearer to 1, that means my losses are less. That means the kinetic energy, the energy of the fluid which is going out is at a lower number. So it enters at 40 meters per second, goes out at 0.5 meters per second, will have a higher utilization factor. And the one which is enters at 40 meters per second, meters per second. That means a higher utilization factor. So what does it indicate? If I try to observe this, it indicates that, it indicates how well a turbine performs, how well a turbine perform or utilize the energy, how well a turbine perform. And see, if I want to see what is the purpose of it actually. And when the epsilon is lower, we can maximize it and can be maximized. So we can maximize it while designing the blades of the turbine. So at the design point, while designing the turbine itself, we try to keep this number as high as possible, 0.95 or 0.98. See, it's difficult to get y is equal to 1. Okay, but I can go for a higher number, 0.98 and all. What will happen with use actually? Maybe after a couple of years of installation of this turbine, the flow will drop. It may drop to 0.9, it may drop to 0.85. So that may be the time where it calls for replacement of some of the components. Even though your design, so it's a design utilization factor as well as the degree of reaction also. So I design it for 0.5 or 0.6, whatever it may be. So your utilization factor is designed for a higher utilization factor. I can keep my turbine or use my turbine at a very high level. See, I can use it for longer duration. If I design it for 0.98, then I can use it for, still it drops to 0.8 or 0.85. If I design it for 0.9, it may drop to 0.7 or 0.65, whatever it may be. Then the duration may come down. So your design utilization factor should be high as possible. If you're able to take care of these things actually, then your